Welcome back to At Your Leisure. We are taking a stroll along the trail system in Cottonwood Heights, a project that's been underway for a couple of years. Still has a little ways to go, but the progress was worth stopping by to take a look at. This is usually the part where we bring you a trailhead story, and we are going to depart from that today to talk to you. This is something I seldom do, but I feel it's important. I'm going to editorialize, and the opinions that I'm about to tell you are opinions that I have. They do not necessarily represent those of the TV station this is airing on. But I think this is important, and it deals with the governor. I think Governor Huntsman is a fine guy. I've met him before. I've seen him when he's out riding dirt bikes. I know he's an outdoorsman. He grew up in central Utah. I think his heart in conserving our resources is in the right place. But he recently wanted to get a first-hand look at the status of motorized recreation. I applaud him for that effort. And he traveled to Moab to look at some of the motorized trails and see what all the commotion was about. And I think that that was a good investment of his time. Unfortunately, instead of talking to federal land managers, county or state officials who oversee the land, or any of the recreational groups who actually maintain or use the land, the governor chose to take the tour with SUA, the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance, as their guest. And this is a group that has proven by past actions that any means will justify their end of eliminating motorized recreation everywhere in the state. SUA has gone on the record before the public and the media saying, and I quote, "ATVs are smelly, dirty, and stinky." If you're looking to create the evidence to support a mindset of stinky, filthy, and disgusting, and you set out to show it as the norm, you can find those examples anywhere, including Moab. But what you don't find when you go with a group like that is the many places where people do follow the rules, and the countless thousands of Utah citizens who supported the governor in his re-election, who use motorized recreation responsibly with their families to have access to the great outdoors that they otherwise wouldn't have. Some people are not as fortunate as I am and my family in that we're in good health and we can enjoy both motorized and non-motorized recreation. Some people's only means of access because of their health or their age is to ride an ATV or a Jeep into the back country, lest they never see it. But more importantly are the people that don't have the time to invest weeks to traverse wilderness area lands to enjoy the spectacular views of Utah. When you find that 1 or 2% of the recreating population has the time, the money, or the physical conditioning to participate in recreational activities in land like that, you have become very elitist and you've locked out most people from their access. I didn't want to just merely tell you my opinion. I wanted a chance for you to hear from the recreationists of Utah. These are the people who are your neighbors, whom you grow up with in Nephi, who live in southern Utah in the rural communities, in the suburbs of Salt Lake. And they use motorized recreation responsibly. They go out on the trail systems. They pick up after themselves. They teach good land ethics to their children. These are the people I see all the time as I do my work as host of this show. They are, by and far, the vast majority. We'd just like to let them know there's a lot of families out here that want to go ride and spend some family time together, have some good, clean fun. We'd like to know what we can do to help them so they can help us keep our trails open.
Well, as the Director of Tourism for Millard County, I seriously feel that if they were to close the public lands in Millard County, tourism would die, and tourism's a huge industry.
There needs to be a happy medium where the people utilizing those trails stay with the marked trail system and they quit closing existing trails to us.
I think it's sad. I think there's a lot of responsible ATV riders out there and they need a place to go recreate. And our public lands are multiple use, and that's one of the uses.
In Texas, everything is closed up. And I would hate for that to happen here in Utah. I mean, we can't enjoy our land. You can see it from the highway, but you can't get in it.
More and more roads are closed, more trails are closed. Less public access all the time, and I'm concerned about that. I don't see a reason for it.
That is actually the crux of the problem. No matter how much compromise has been made by the land access groups, the federal land agencies, historically, groups like SUA, the Sierra Club, and the Blue Water Network have always come back and asked for more. Case in point, Yellowstone National Park and Factory Butte. Every 2 years we hear about Red Rock Wilderness Bill. In fact, in its most watered-down recent form, it was presented as 9.5 million acres of wilderness across the southern strip of the state of Utah. 9.5 million acres may not seem like a whole lot till you put it in perspective. The entire state of Utah only has 54 million acres in it. You are effectively taking nearly 20% of the state and locking it off from anybody but a handful of backcountry recreationists, backpackers, and people who have weeks at a time and resources and health to explore that country. That only represents 1.5% of the recreating public. Governor Huntsman, we think that you need to responsibly look at off-highway vehicle recreation and motorized recreation and public lands. There is a way to provide land access and recreational opportunities and resource development and give everybody a piece of what they want. But it requires compromise, and that is something that this other side has not been willing to do. A few years ago, the Blue Ribbon Coalition promoted a new concept in land use, a new designation called backcountry. Backcountry designation would be a buffer around wilderness areas, very limited access, limited roads, and strict noise enforcement. This backcountry designation would still allow access to land, but protect the wilderness areas for those that wanted to enjoy that experience. While it made sense to most of us who looked at it, SUA absolutely denied to even consider it. It was wilderness or nothing. Roadless initiative areas or nothing. There is no compromise in this group. But even the roadless initiative lands don't make sense. Here you have Forest Service lands across the state that have roads in them currently. But other than that, they're like wilderness. So the environmentalist point of view is, take the road out, it will grow back, it will become wilderness, and we can save it from destruction. If that is actually the case, and a road can be reclaimed simply by closing it, why do you have to close it in the first place? If a need for wilderness arises at some point in the future, close the road. If you discover a sensitive species of plant or animal and they need protection, by all means, close the road. Respond to the specific need, not the broad category. Most of the recreationists I know are not opposed to conservation, but we are opposed to closing millions of acres on the premise of future conservation. With judicious land planning, with backcountry designations, we can provide every recreational opportunity to every user and provide them the experience they want. And with responsible noise decibel regulations, we can create parallel trail systems for both motorized and non-motorized recreationists, providing an opportunity for them to enjoy quiet, noise-free recreation without any conflicts. These are opportunities that are very real and make practical sense. Everybody in the motorized community would get behind and support something like this. Governor Huntsman, I know you're a rational person. My viewers know you're a rational person. We know that you try to make good decisions. Therefore, Governor Huntsman, we would like to extend to you an invitation and a challenge to return to Utah's backcountry as our guest, to get a different point of view and perspective other than the one provided to you by SUA. One that shows the possibility of conservation and access via motorized recreation. It seems only fair. Then you will have another perspective other than SUA's from which you can make good decisions in the best interest of all of the citizens of the state of Utah. So much for speaking my point of view right now. Thank you for listening. We'll be back in just a few minutes with this week's contest winner.